Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. So kind of for being a part of the show. Hey, guys, I am here. I've been feeling sick since, when was it? Wednesday. Then I kind of thought I may have gotten COVID, but, I didn't do any testing. I kept on doing my workouts, et cetera, et cetera. But, Saturday was terrible. Sunday finally got better, and I did a COVID test on Sunday, and it was negative. So I think I had it, but cleared it before the test. Anyhow, my voice is still a little bit raspy, and that raspy just came a couple of days now. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today, guys. Let me first tell you that today's winner, first person in the chat, Yvette Avery Herod, our queen from Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing, Yvette? Second in the house is Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. So we have Atlanta on the top. Austin, Texas came in second. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York is in third. And AVQ, what happened to you, AVQ? ¿Qué te pasó? Our brother AVQ came in fourth place today. He is be back in 20 minutes, he says. And Joanne from Los Angeles, California came in 5. Let's see what else we've got here. Patrick Magner is in. He says meow. And of course, Eric Hayes is in. Lee Grant is in. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to have a great show for you today. All right. Let's see what else we got here. What else have we got here? Lee the Bearcat, I'm glad you got 8 cents a kilowatt hour. Let us know if it really works out that way. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I'm too dumb. And anytime I change power companies, even though it seemed like it was going to be a great deal, it always turns out that I missed something. Maybe you're a genius and were able to get it better deal. I hope that is what you got, my dear brother. Anyhow. By the way, who is it that gave you 8 cents? And what are the carrying fees, the minimum, maximum kilowatt hours, the ranges? They have all these tricks in there a lot of times. Maybe you found one that you were able to navigate better than I did. Okay. You guys realize that Donald Trump is trying to change the storyline, right? I guess it got too hot with Signal, so he throws out another story. Again, I am going to run for a third term, and I'm serious. And the serious part comes because he wants the media to take it up, and he wants all the conversation to be on that instead of the big misstep that these clowns that call themselves our security guys had by planning, or not planning, but describing an attack before it occurred on Signal. Shame on us. Shame on what we have elected. Shame of whom this mediocre president. Actually, I'm sorry, mediocre is too good a word for this president. Shame on what he's done. But you know what? I want to bring us back to Big PDR, Texas. Welcome to the soldiers being newly deployed to the Texas-Mexico border. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. Let's see. Lee the Bearcat says Southern Federal, look them up on Power to Choose. See the fact sheet. Okay. Thank you, brother. All right. Here is the deal. I was looking at some TikToks earlier, and somebody reposted a piece of a video that I did years ago. But when I pulled that video back up, it was, oh my God, this stuff is still very good to inform right now because it still applies. So I did a new video that included that video, and that's how I want to start the program today. And again, sorry for the husky voice. I'm getting over I think it's it's either severe cold or latent COVID. I'm not sure which one it is because I didn't test for COVID until 5 days after I started to have these symptoms because I never thought I had COVID. Anyway, here we go with the let's see, watch this Canadian doctor with the Canadian doctor, and then we'll take it on the other side. Folks, we're in life-changing times now. We have a president in office that, based on what he has done and who he has appointed to do certain things, are not just destroying the nation, but putting each person's individual health, both financially and medically, at risk. We have been trying to move into a healthcare system for a long time. This battle has been going on for decades to give us a humane healthcare system, one that sort of has some similarities between Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Australia, and these other places. You know, maybe a combination of those, but pretty much a single payer system that ultimately makes more sense, takes out all of the inefficiencies of healthcare, of paying for healthcare. That's what single payer does, you know. As I'm thinking about that, I recall an interview with a Dr. Danielle Martin I think it was in about 2014 or so, where she was challenged by an ill-informed, more likely a willfully ignorant senator that tried to malign single payer, and also had somebody in the House talking about people leaving Canada to America for healthcare. What Danielle did, Dr. Martin did, was she, for all practical purposes, embarrassed the senator into showing that the Canadian system, with all its flaws, are way superior than the American system. And it is one that we could learn from, first of all, by getting rid of the private sector insurance companies for basic care. We should get rid of Medicare Advantage. We should get rid of private health care, and it should all be in effect from our general funds. But let's listen to what Dr. Danielle Martin had to say several years back. What's ironic is it still holds true today.
Dr. Martin, in your testimony, you note that Canadian doctors exiting the public system for the private sector has had the effect of increasing waiting lists for patients seeking public health care. Why are doctors exiting the public system in Canada?
Thank you for your question, Senator. If I didn't express myself in a way that to make myself understood, I apologize. There are no doctors exiting the public system in Canada. And in fact, we see a net influx of physicians from the United States into the Canadian system over the last number of years. What I did say was that the solution to the wait time challenge that we have in Canada, which we do have a difficult time with waits for elective medical procedures, does not lie in moving away from our single payer system towards a multi-payer system. And that's borne out by the experience of Australia. So Australia used to have a single tier system, and in the 1990s moved to a multiple payer system where private insurance was permitted. And a very well-known study by Duckett et al. Was tracked what took place in terms of wait times in Australia as the multi-payer system was put in place. And what they found was in those areas of Australia where private insurance was being taken up and utilized, waits in the public system became longer.
What do you say to an elected official who goes to Florida and not the Canadian private system to have a heart valve replaced.
It's actually interesting because, in fact, the people who are the pioneers of that particular surgery, which Premier Williams had, and had the best health outcomes in the world for that surgery, are in Toronto at the Peter Monk Cardiac Center, just down the street from where I work. So what I say is that sometimes people have a perception, and I believe that actually this is fueled in part by media discourse, that going to where you pay more for something, that necessarily makes it better, but it's not actually borne out by the evidence on outcomes from that cardiac surgery or any other.
People prefer their system because they know consciously they pay more. No, I think it's because they judge quality and they judge innovation. Ms. Pipes, in your testimony, you noted that more than 42,000 Canadians come to the United States each year for healthcare. Why is that?
Because they find that they're on a waiting list in Canada for too long a period, and they feel that their health is at stake. So a lot of people in Canada come to the U.S. for MRIs, CT scans. There are many examples in the media of people like Brian McCreath, who came to the U.S. because he was told by his primary care doctor that he might have a brain tumor, but the wait for an MRI was very long. He spent the $1,000, came to the U.S., paid out of pocket. You will see advertisements in Canadian newspapers for MRIs, for neurosurgery.
It's a pretty fertile ground to market in.
Right.
Dr. Martin, in your testimony, you state that the focus should be on reducing waiting times in a way that's equitable for all. What length of time do you consider to be equitable when waiting for care?
Well, in fact, the Wait Time Alliance in Canada, sir, has established benchmarks across a variety of different diagnoses for what's a reasonable period to wait. And what we've found is that actually working within the single payer system, we can reorganize things. You know, I waited more than 30 minutes at the security line to get into this building today. And when I arrived in the lobby, I noticed across the hall that there was a second entry point with no lineup whatsoever. Sometimes it's not actually about the amount of resources that you have, but rather about how you organize people in order to use your queues most effectively. And that's what we're working to do, because we believe that when you try to address wait times, you should do it in a way that benefits everyone, not just people who can afford to pay.
On average, how many Canadian patients on a waiting list die each year? Do you know?
I don't, sir, but I know that there are 45,000 in America who die waiting because they don't have insurance at all.
I live 1 hour away from the Canadian border. Canadians watch American television. Canadians are very familiar with our political system, probably know more about politics in America than most Americans know. Is your Prime Minister a socialist?
No, sir. Our Prime Minister is quite conservative. He's
conservative.
Yes, indeed.
So obviously, as a conservative, he wants to implement the American healthcare system that the Canadians are very aware of. I gather that was probably the first thing he did when he took power. Is that right?
Not exactly.
Why not?
Support for single-payer Medicare in Canada goes across all political stripes. Quite famously, we had the leader of the most right-wing party in a Canadian federal debate on television hold up a sign in the middle of the debate on which he'd written in marker "No two-tier" as a means of trying to reassure the Canadian public that if elected, he would not dismantle the system.
In other words, you have a nation bordering on the United States, two nations that are probably as close together in so many respects as any two nations in the world, a conservative prime minister, and yet there is no effort to move to an American healthcare system. I would say to my colleagues, there's not a better example of maybe how people feel about two systems. They know the American system. They have a conservative prime minister. They can move in our direction, but for whatever reason, and I think sensible reasons, they understand that a system that guarantees health care to all of their people in a cost-effective way is the way that they want to stay. Ms. Pipes, let me ask you that question. Why do the Canadians not come to the American healthcare system?
Well, as I mentioned in my testimony, about 42,000 Canadians every year come to the U.S. and pay out of pocket for assistance.
That wasn't my question.
No, I just made that. I want to make that point first. Second, the Canadian government and the provinces who administer the Canadian healthcare system, this started in 1974. A lot of people in Canada have no idea of an alternative system.
Oh, my goodness. No. They live an hour away from me in Burlington, Vermont. They watch American television. They read American newspapers. They have no idea of what goes on in the United States of America. That is a little bit hard for me to believe.
I would say that Canadian people are very, very nice people. They're not impatient like Americans. My mother said to me, I hope you're not becoming an impatient American. I am an impatient American. Americans do not want to wait. Canadians are very nice.
Well,
the doctor says, and then the second.
I missed life, so I have a limited time.
Yes.
I think the answer is pretty clear. The Canadians have seen the American system. They prefer their own.
Now, America, we have the Trump administration dismantling government. We have the Trump administration trying to privatize government for all practical purposes. And in that process, even the portions of our healthcare that is sensible, the single payer portion of our healthcare that is standard Medicare, not Medicare Advantage, standard traditional Medicare, and the Veterans Administration standard as well. They are trying to gut it and convince everyone to go to the private sector. I want you all to remember this. Whenever you include the private sector in something like healthcare, your healthcare premiums go to the pockets of the executives who profit from, who will always have a profit because they don't provide services unless they have a profit, as well as the shareholders of that insurance companies. Those are humongous costs. In other words, your payment before a dollar goes to solve a problem in healthcare, before it goes to your heart attack, before it goes to your lung cancer, before it goes to anything, those executives will be paid and those shareholders will be paid. And if there's somehow a shortage, they will make sure to deny you service. Remember, for-profit insurance companies make their profits from denying you care, denying you services, denying you drugs. A public single-payer system is the only solution. We can call it whatever you want, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it. A one entity paying the bill eliminates all the executives, advertising, shareholders, the whole works. This is not rocket science, but they depend on you being ignorant not to support what's best for us all. A single payer healthcare system. And that is a statement of fact. Anyway, one of our Karen Buckner in our chat in Substack reminded me that I needed to remind everybody of the April 5th, hey, you billionaires, hands off. That big protest that's going to occur throughout the country. I have it on the screen where you can actually photos, or rather get the URL that you can go ahead and sign up in whatever part of the country that you're in. Check that out. Lee Grant, as usual, gets his information from bad sources. And who is a bad source? He gets, Canadians wait 30 weeks before they see a million and a half of Canadians wait 30 weeks, and the other half doesn't. It's not true, of course, but it's data that's put out by whom again? Just like we have our right-wing rags, they do as well. So that data came from Fraser Institute, or the Fraser, whatever that group is called. I have it on the screen right now. And their credibility is at best mixed. Do remember that Politics Done Right's credibility rating is excellent. These people, mixed. Be careful where you get your data. And if you know what really got me when I initially did that search after I saw the message from Mr. Lee Grant, was how comes that thing played so hard? These guys have so much money that they can go ahead and make sure that their stories appear as the first or second item in the search engines. That's a lot of money spent on something called search engine optimization. And the right wing has a lot of money to do that. So it lies to the American people by putting some of these false stories on the top of the search engine. And since most people are not going to go out there and do heavy research, guess what happens? That is what's cauterized in their minds. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Rudin says, yep, there's not a single Canadian citizen who would trade their socialized healthcare system for our for-profit system. That is absolutely true. None of them will. Lee Grant says, I hope Canada can adapt U.S. standards for free speech. Really? You must not have been watching what's been happening to people who tried to execute their free speech here lately. Michael Ryan says, Eric, a public healthcare system trims the profit that insurance corporations and CEOs make. A public healthcare system would save $450 billion per year and prevent 70,000 American deaths. That doesn't mean anything to these guys, Radnin. You have to understand that. Doesn't mean anything. Their humanity is up for grab. I mean, their humanity is actually, I don't think it exists. It's for them, ideology stamps humanity. I hate to say it, but you listen to the responses to fact-based information, and that's all that you can come out with, right? Maywood, welcome aboard from Long Beach, California. Sorry for the voice, but again, as I told you, I've been very sick for several days now. Paul Fleming says swaths of Republicans are scrambling to shield their states from Trump's next wave of tariffs, a sign of private alarm, and the president's party about his trade agenda. I want to see, look, Republicans in Florida, if you want your industry, a lot of your hospitality industry to survive, you better vote those two Democrats in Florida. Every Florida person listening right now, call your neighbors and tell them to save your state's economy. Oh boy, that hurts my head. And tell them to go ahead and do that. Thank you very much, Yvette Avery Herod. I need to feel better. I wanted to start working out today again, but I don't think I can. I don't want to relapse into what I had before. All right, I got another good video for you guys. This one is a caller this morning, and this caller had a tendency to believe. Well, I'll just let you listen to it, and then we'll take it on the other side. Kind of help my voice here a bit, and then we'll listen on the other side. Okay, it's time to go to the phones. Let's go to Raymond. Raymond, line number 1. Come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right, thank you. I'd like to address the topic from the previous segment that you just finished up about 5 minutes ago. Economics, and I know that there's no such thing as a perfect government system, but you made a point that with the government being cut back, you're going to have workers taking private jobs that are making less money and therefore having less money to spend in their local economy. I'd like to share another perspective on that, get your feedback on it.
Sure.
Right now, what we've seen with DOGE is massive government waste and fraud that's wasting money that us, the taxpayers, have been putting in for years and years and years and continue to put in. And by cutting that out, privatizing those jobs, saving money by reducing the cost to get the same services done, the government should have an excess of income, a surplus. And what they should do, I'm not saying they will do this, but what they should, the level of taxation on the rest of the people. So that guy that got his private job over at UPS has less of a tax burden and the same amount of money to go spend on his local economy. And I think that's the goal of the current administration. And it makes sense because who has control of that money? It's the people that are collecting it and distributing it. And that right now is the government. And they're doing it very inefficiently. They're spending a lot more than they need to. And you've seen a lot of reports with DOGE committing a lot of fraud with that money as well. I think they're not being very good fiduciaries of our taxpayers' money. I can tell you my example, I lose about 30% of my income before I ever get my paycheck. And by the time I spend all my money, I've spent about 50% of it on taxes. And that's not okay. That's not sustainable long term. I'd like to see that turn around. What's your thought on that?
Okay. And look, first of all, I appreciate you. One thing I like when somebody differs from what I'm saying is for them to have a logical explanation of what they're saying. And what you gave was a very logical explanation of it, right? Now, unfortunately, if we do it numerically, as far as how much money saved it doesn't wash for the middle class or the poor. Let me explain. If you take a look at, let's say, I get rid of that $60,000 job, but that and put a whole lot of $30,000 jobs in business, right? What happens is that person that is making that has lost $30,000 isn't going to make that back in taxes, because more than likely the person making $60,000 never paid more than $2,000 in income taxes. So right there, numerically speaking, and I'm not talking about whether it is right, wasteful or not, because my contention is that an economy is a man-made entity, and somebody's waste is somebody else's income. I know it's hard to accept that, but we've always accepted that with the banking sector. They screw around and lose a lot of money, and we throw money at them no matter what. Okay, so I understand you're coming from a philosophy of being a good steward of your own family's income. And that's great. Unfortunately, in my humble opinion, my brother, is that's not how government works. Now, when it comes to your statement about Elon Musk finding a lot of things, a lot of fraud, it's not true. It is, and it's provably not true that Elon Musk is finding a lot of waste. And the reason he's not finding a lot of waste is the parts of government that are very wasteful are not the part that he's likely to contend with. As an example, he called USAID wasteful. Not true. It not only harmed farmers from not being able to send their food and goods overseas, but it starved a lot of people that were dependent on what USAID did. When we look at Social Security through the Biden administration had built up where getting customer service, etc., was done in a very humane fashion. You didn't have to stand in the line for 10 hours, 15 hours anymore. You could go to the Social Security office, and all of these things are not anecdotal. These are numbers that you can find. You could go to the Social Security office and get taken care of. You didn't have to wait on the phone for 4 hours. There are a lot of things that these cuts are made. They're not made for efficiency's sake. They're made for pain's sake. People who spend a lot of time on the phone waiting for service, a certain percentage of them will just get fed up and hang up, right? And that is the expectation. You also mentioned about these people being able to circulate more in money. Look, most of the savings for government, most of the savings in government will not go to the middle class. The vast majority will go to the wealthy. And you may say, well, they're the ones who pay most of the taxes. True, but they're the ones who take more from the economy. They're the ones who make monies on our backs. What do you do for a living, my brother, Raymond?
I'm in sales.
What do you sell? You don't have to. I mean, if you can tell me, what can? Huh?
I sell flooring material.
Great. And you're probably a damn good salesperson. So you go out there and you sell your flooring material. And the major company that puts out that flooring material makes a hell of a lot of money on the great work that you do. And they get a much bigger tax break than you do comparatively. Where I'm trying to refocus people's minds is into a position that says the economy is rigged. Remember, economies are man-made and it's rigged. And I hope that in this exchange that we have, go ahead and fact check what I just told you, and then give me a call back sometime and we can continue this discussion. All right?
Okay. Thank you, Berto.
Thank you very much, brother.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
All right, folks, that is the reason that I wrote this book, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. You see, there's so much ill and misinformation out there that good people like Raymond who called doesn't get the entire concept of what's going on. Okay, line 346. Who am I honored to speak with?
This is caller Harry Denson.
Hey,
who listened
Harry,
to your show this morning. I listened to Raymond. I'm going to make another point, too. I think you're absolutely right, Egberto. And I liked what Patrick said toward the end of the show. Where is the fraud that Elon Musk in the waste? That caller who was a salesman was boring. Where's the fraud, Raymond? They haven't arrested anybody like Patrick said earlier this morning because there is no fraud. It's lies. Now, the other thing I saw you put up there, billionaires hands off. And one other thing, Berto, I hope it's not your turn to get sick like it was with Jack, because then they're going to have to take over Jack and Howard are going to have to take over your show in the morning. So I hope you feel better, and I'll pray for you that you get better and you won't get down with something. But anyway, let me get on what I was saying. I was going to say with the billionaires hands off. Now I just read this stuff. This Josh Carl was denied by Andrew Voigt, and Elon Musk is trying to buy that election in Wisconsin by getting that Brad Shimonek by hanging. He handed out those $1,000 checks, $100 on Sunday night. It's corrupt, Berto, and I'm angry about this.
Look, let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you what I'm hoping for. I am hoping, and I mean this to the core. Wisconsin, if that woman wins in Wisconsin, I can't remember her name right now. It's a very smart woman.
Susan Crawford. She has to win, Egberto. She's got to, because it's because of the they're going to be able to investigate. I told you last week, DOGE, and if she wins, because Elon Musk is telling all these lies that if Schimel wins, they're going to try to. Democrats are going to try to get in the way of what we're trying to do for you. What are you trying to do for us, Elon? You're trying to destroy us.
Okay, here's what I'm trying to say, though. Here's what I'm trying to say. We need to get enough elections where we beat money. That's what we need. And let me go ahead and bring Patrick into the conversation, and then we'll continue. Welcome aboard, Patrick. How are you doing, my dear brother?
Doing fine. I've got Pena with me too.
Hey, how you doing,
Hello there,
hermano?
Patrick.
¿Cómo está, mi hermano? ¿Cómo está?
Estoy luchando con la vida. Estoy luchando con la vida, pero estoy enfermo. Anyway,
I like what you said this morning.
Good. All right. Let's get with the problem. Patrick, let me hear you, Patrick.
Okay. I had more to say this morning, but there was a lot of problems with the phone. I think that we need to all be reminded that the tax system that we had up until 1980 would have had the business class either invest in their business, invest in their human resources, or pay taxes. And the rich lobbied against that. So the guy saying that people would be better off with a lower salary or pay rate, but a more efficient tax system wouldn't be as good as what we had before the rich really got involved and before neoliberalism really took a hold. So it would have been a moot point to me that if we were going to move somebody from $50,000 down to $30,000 and then have a more efficient tax system, the tax system to begin with would have had us still getting 10 and 15% raises per year, which doesn't happen anymore, or it would be investment in the business to grow it so you could take on more employees and you could get more work. That was the system that was working, and that's what created the middle class. When they got rid of all that, that's when the middle class started to shrink.
But you know what is so interesting? What is so interesting is what you just identified there, Patrick. It's a mathematical formula, right? You cannot have a small percentage of people constantly growing their wealth in a closed economy. You cannot have them gaining wealth and not see the disparity that we have today. And the way the disparity was fixed was mathematically. And mathematically, it meant that those very high those very high
Come from somewhere.
Right. And then it had to be reinvested back into the economy, either through taxes or you go ahead and improve your business, which would have hired more people, which would have created more demand, etc. But not for you to just hold on to the capital. And for those who said, well, I made the money, I should be able to hold it. No, you did not. And that is, I was so upset with Obama. When you remember, Obama was honest at first. He said, you didn't make that. You didn't earn that. Obama said that, and the right wing went crazy, and they really went and attacked Obama for saying, you didn't make that. And that was a meme for months. And Obama kind of backtracked and like, that's not what I really meant. Capitalists do earn what they make. No, I'm sorry. The truth of the matter is, when I had my company and I made my profit, and at the times that I made huge profits, I learned to never assume that profit was made solely by my intellect and my work. Because I know that everybody listening to my voice right now, because they are taxpayers, because they were janitors, because they were whatever the hell they did, that had a small part into making all of us. And that false individualism that we like to portray, false individualism, but collective servancy to the plutocracy, is something we have to get out of. We have to find a way to teach people that what you have learned is false. Continue, my brother.
I think I remember the meme was, I think that the left said that either something like we're in this together or we did this.
Right.
And that started taking a hold. Yeah, it started taking a hold, and all of a sudden the right said, I did this. I made this.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, you're 100% correct. The only thing that the top 3% do is they bring money to the table.
Right.
As you say over and over, and I say over and over, they don't create anything. They give us a little bit of money to create a product that increases their wealth, and then we get a small stipend of that.
Exactly. And
socialism is supposed to balance that out a little bit.
Right. And that is what, we have. And, the capitalism as an economic system is a fraud, but it's our system. So therefore, we fix the fraud by having a tax system to mitigate the fraud, right? Because it's a fraud. Look, capitalism is slavery. And people don't get it. Capitalism is our new capitalism is just an improvement onto the slave. What we had as slavery. It's all an improvement, right? It's done now with a little bit more class. But they tell you what to wear. They tell you how to come to work and everything. It's no different. In fact, each of them have some advantages, right? The slave never had to worry about healthcare and stuff, but then they live a substandard life. But the employee, who is the new slave, their healthcare is suspect, their survivability, So America takes better care. I've always taken better care of its property than it's taken care of its human beings. And, we have to understand these concepts for us to really be able to, make these things. All right. Harry, did you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right with the antiseptic slavery. They don't want us to have livable wages. They don't want us to have benefits to take care of us. They just want to pay us enough money to come back and work as a slave and enrich them. And Patrick's absolutely right. They just give us a small pittance while the shareholders are always talking about, and the executives and the these corporations get richer, get fatter.
All right, guys. Do you have anything else? I got 2 more videos to put on here. Anything else you guys want to say?
Okay, well, let's do the video. I'm just upset with like I said, I'm continuing to be upset with this Wisconsin situation.
Hey, let's talk about it Wednesday. Let's talk about it Wednesday to see what the results are. Okay. Patrick, you got anything else to say?
I hope so.
I do, but I'll call back another time. I'd like to hear
no. I only have 9 minutes of 10 minutes worth. So you guys a few more minutes if you can add right now.
Well, I was going to agree with Harry, and I was going to take it even further. The small pittance that we have is being taken away from us because they really don't want us to have anything. And I thought a lot about the rental economy that you talked about. You're 100% correct. And I've been having a hard time convincing myself and people around us that the $4.5 trillion tax cut is for everybody. Asks me why, because they won't even notice the money. And I've gotten to the point where I've realized that's the last thing that we have to rely on, and they're trying to take it away from us because that's what's increasing their power. They're not interested in the money. They're interested in having one other thing to hold up over you.
Man, you nailed it. The thing about it right now, you nailed it. The thing is about power. Look, Elon Musk, by doing what he's doing, he's lost $100 billion. But he doesn't care because he figured later on he would make it over 10 times over. He's likely to be right. He'll be a trillionaire in a couple of years. But the thing about it is he's a trillionaire on everybody else's back. Now, the thing about it is, how do we convince 51% of Americans of the truth? Because you have those that are immutable. You can see a few of them on our chat right now. Immutable. And that is because they are governed by ideology and, to put it bluntly, also racism. Because that's what Trump brings to the fold. I was watching a good TikTok by a historian, and Trump is bringing that thing. You know, they're talking a whole lot of this white supremacy. And Bridge MCP sent me some documents over the weekend about the technocrats. And by the way, there were some good things with the technocrats, but later on, because they were trying to do it undemocratically and based also on white skin, which kind of makes no sense, right? That creates a problem. I don't know if Bridge wants to call in and talk about that a little later. That'll be fine. But anyway, guys, let me go ahead and play the other video, okay?
Right. But that money needs to go to the middle class.
Thank you, guys. All right, let's go ahead and play this other video that about Bernie Sanders. I want to get you guys to listen to. Dana Bash yesterday on State of the Union, at the end of it, she said that two cartoons made an impression on her. One was where the cartoonist sort of made fun of the signal problem with Hegseth and all these other guys put in sensitive information, classified information in a signal chat. And the way the cartoon did it just kind of made it just one of those things. The other thing is that she did the cartoon of them talking about Democrats. And it's about Bernie Sanders saying we didn't turn left enough. And what they show is that Democrats turned left and went over the bridge and fell into the river or the ocean or whatever. And people might look at that cartoon and say, well, I tell you what, let me just play the piece first, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Two political cartoons that caught our eye this week. Here's a sheep among the wolves in Donald Trump's war room, courtesy of Rob Rogers. Plus, Senator Bernie Sanders suggesting that Democrats needed to turn further left after the party already drove off the bridge. That's Michael Ramirez of the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
All right. Anybody that's looking at that cartoon, first of all, they discount the severity of what was done by the Trump administration by conducting the type of business, military business that they did on Signal. Okay, it's a cartoon. They made fun of it. Understood. But Dana Bash picking it up the way she did, in contrast to the Democratic one, it left a sour taste in my mouth for this reason. The idea that you will pick up a cartoon that says, well, Democrats turned hard left and they think they didn't turn left enough is a ludicrous comparison. It's a ludicrous assessment of what occurred in the last election. it shows a mindless disregard for reality. The truth of the matter is that Democrats never did turn anywhere leftward in this election, in many elections. I'll be honest. Biden was more leftward in his legislation than Kamala Harris actually campaigned. That's a statement of fact. The truth of the matter is, when asked what people want, the Democratic Party is not near left enough to support the American people. And when you specifically ask them what they want health care. They want good Social Security. They want all these things. They want family care. They want child care. They want to have all these things affordable. They want a minimum wage that is a living wage. They want to have good drinking water. They want all these things. You poll them, and all of these things are north of 60%. But our media is allowed to tell Americans that somehow the Democratic Party has gone too left. Too left for what? Oh, well, you guys not only talking about that, but you're also talking about trans. What's left about saying, listen to people's humanity? Don't go killing trans folk. Oh, well, they support the gay agenda. No, we support the agenda of human beings. We have allowed the right to corrupt the media via the techniques of the Powell Memo, the Heritage Foundation, the Cato Institute, and all these institutions to simulate the fallacy of what progressives specifically and Democrats in the aggregate represent. The big problem with Democrats, and this is true, and that cartoon gets it right in that one regard, they didn't turn left enough. Because what Americans need is a change that shows they will get a better part of this economy. They will be able to be true participants in an economy, true participants in their own healthcare, true participants in society, and not have to go through the pains, the aches of continuously transferring their wealth to the middle class. Tariffs, transfer of wealth to the middle class. DOGE, transfer of wealth to the middle class as the government comes in, or as the private sector comes in to take over all those laid off workers. What you get? Lower paid workers, and that differential in pay goes directly to the shareholders and the corporate executives. Look, there is no doubt here, folks. That cartoon that you see there was simply placed to continue the indoctrination, to make people vote against their interest, having the false belief that Dems are too left, that progressives are too left. Look, the only Dems that are not left enough are the neoliberal Dems. But all the rest really want to get where the American people are. And you know what? By hook or crook, we're going to get there. By hook or crook, we are going to get there. There is no doubt about it, but the fight must continue. We must go ahead and keep the faith in the work we intend to do. And that's what it's all about, people. It's not about sitting down there and twiddling our fingers. It's not about sitting down there and saying, we don't have the ability to do this. We have got to be the ones that save ourselves. We can't depend on others to save us. We've got to save ourselves. All right, I got one last video to show you what you can expect going forward from Social Security, the IRS, or any other governmental function under Donald Trump. Come on in, Nancy.
I want to talk about government services and a little warning. About 2 weeks ago, I tried to call IRS, and waiting time on the phone. And then they're telling you in the recorded, if you use by phone, you're going to have to pay. And I forgot how much the fee was just to use the phone to talk to IRS. So I got off and I said, and because the recording says, if you go online, you don't have to pay that fee. So I went online. I have to make a account. Okay. Then I read all the things online. It did not answer my particular problem. So I tried online, and then it was telling me, "Oh, this is wrong. That you've done. Make your password. Something's wrong." And I tried again. So I don't know. Maybe it's just with the phone and not with the computer. I was trying to access the account that I just made for myself. So I could not get through. So I went back to calling them and waiting over an hour, and then it hangs up. So I try and go start all over by phone again. I did this around 4 times, and I gave up. And I said, I'm going to write a letter. So I sent a letter to IRS. Okay, then I had some problem with Social Security. Same thing. Waiting, and no answer. So I'm going to write a letter. And I wanted to tell you one more thing. The post office. I live in the Southwest, near Chinatown. We have 150 languages in our area. And then before Trump was inaugurated, we had a counter that could have four different workers assisting us. And the lines were long, lots of people, lots of black and brown, lots of brown. And then I went a week ago to the post office. Instead of 3 people, at least staff, there was only 1. Yeah. And the Asian person was gone. So no language. I don't know what language he was doing, Mandarin or whatever. And so only 1. And when he would say next, he would say, we don't do passport services here anymore. You'll have to go to some other place. I don't know where. And then
Nancy, I got to go, but let me just tell you this. Thank you for that testimony, because America has to understand now that that's our future if things remain the way they are right now. So thank you for the call, Nancy. And that is what we have to understand. That is our future. Terrible services from our government. And as the services get worse and worse, there's one thing that's going to happen. The Musks of the world are going to say, okay, government is no good. So now we get the private sector to pick up the slack for government. That's the whole intent here. I did another piece that I'm preparing right now. It's about 16 minutes long. That's illustrating this. The idea is to break government so that the savior of the government you broke is the private sector, which means it'll cost you more money. It'll create lower paid employees without benefits. And then following that, it'll ensure that your community that had all these high priced government workers are now replaced by low cost private sector workers with little benefits, and that will affect your restaurants, your theaters, your coffee shops, your grocery stores. Everything will be in decline. People, when we talk about why the Republicans continuously want to have you lack the ability to critical think, that is the reason. They don't want you to understand that losing all these higher paid government workers, losing all these different values, doesn't only hurt that worker that gets laid off. It hurts the entire community as those high salaries are no longer there. Michael Radin says, Egberto, the alt-right culture war helps no one. All their hatreds against trans people, minorities, immigrants, refugees, women, etc., none of their issues help anyone. It's all about feeling good from making other people suffer. And you know what? It's funny because they ultimately begin to suffer themselves. All right, I've got 4 minutes left. Anybody wants to call in for the last 4 minutes can do so now. 713. Wrong number. Let me put the right. That's a KPFT number. Anybody wants to call in can give us a call at 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. I had the morning show thing on. Sorry about that. Again, I can take calls for another 3 minutes. 281-823-7747. I want to thank all my folks that are listening, quite a few that are listening on Substack. Want to thank all our folks listening on all the other platforms, including Instagram, Telegram. Where else are we on? Facebook Live, YouTube Live. So, it's wide and broad. So thank you so kindly for listening to the program. Do remember to share, and share again. That is how we can get this message out, because we know the mainstream media is not going to do it. Okay, who do I have the honor of speaking to?
This is Harry Density.
Okay, it seems like I get Harry and Patrick. Go ahead, Harry, real quick.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, I'd like to say that Republicans do not want us to have, they don't want us to have our benefits. They just want us to work for cheap labor, low-paying wages, and that tax money, as I was going to say earlier.
That is right. I got to go to Patrick now. Patrick, your comment.
Yeah, they don't need all that. Elon Musk doesn't need that $1 trillion. The middle class needs it.
Okay, Harry, I got to go to Patrick. Patrick?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I had a question for you. I brought it up, and Bree just brought it up. There's alleged ties to KGB from Trump, and it might be something that I'm misunderstanding or I just didn't see, but it seems like you're kind of avoiding it. I think maybe you think that it's conspiracy theory, and it might be, but I've spent some time looking at it, and he's had at least one flight paid by the KGB, and he has a long history. He has a 40-year history of selling real estate in cash to people that are not named, and that's money laundering at its finest.
I agree. I agree with all of that. The thing about it is, Patrick, once I get stuff that is corroborated about Trump and KGB, I'm going to throw it out there. But you know what I tried? You know what I try to do? Both you and Bleach knows what I try to do, right?
And you have a brand to protect, and I understand that. What I wanted to do is to see if maybe tomorrow or the next day you can give she and I maybe 5 or 10 minutes to present.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is y'all's show. Absolutely. Let's do it tomorrow. Okay?
Well, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys. All right. Hey, guys, look, thank you for being here. It's 4:00. Got to get out of here. I'm still, a little bit under the weather. Please support the program however you can. The best way to support the program is to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And how do you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter? You can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That newsletter subsidizes our entire operation. Of course, there are a lot of many other ways to support us, and all those other ways to support us can be found at politicsdoneright.com/support. But we're trying to get, as soon as possible to 12 to 1,500 subscribers. We are close to, I think our next stop is going to be 400. We're probably about 30 something away from 400. I would really like to get to 1,000 by the middle of the summer. So you guys can also help by asking folks if they believe in media and they like what we do here. There are a lot of other good Substacks out there as well. If you like what we do, please make us be a part of your subscriber base, your paid subscriber base, by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, folks, love you all. Thank you for being here. Got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end our baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want.